Hi, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic, where I'm going to take a look at this Sudoku which has been sent in. And I don't know much about it, except that we're told that it's a handcrafted puzzle. It's not a machine-generated puzzle. And the person who sends it said that that didn't matter, they still couldn't solve it. And could we help? Well, I'm hoping that we will. But one of the things I'm going to try and do when I go about solving it is to use the knowledge that it's not a machine puzzle to guide how I'm approaching the solve. Now, this is because you'll have seen when we do some of the very extreme puzzles on the channel, they are almost always designed by machine, and I think that the way these algorithms work is they throw out a set of numbers into a grid and then they brute force solve them and see how many steps it took, and when they get to a magic number they say, well, this puzzle is we would set it a tough or an extreme grade. Now, a handcrafted puzzle, by contrast, will do no such thing. It will have a sort of logical solution path that you're intended to find. It might not be simple to find it. You might have to be quite ingenious to spot the logic, but it should be there, and it's very unlikely to involve anything more complicated than a swordfish, for example, or an X-wing. Certainly we wouldn't see any of the advanced chaining techniques that we've needed in recent weeks. So without further ado, let's talk about how to solve this. So I'm going to try and stick to what we call Snyder notation in doing this puzzle. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that I'm only going to make these little pencil marks in boxes, in 3x3 boxes, if I can limit numbers to exactly 2 positions in those boxes. So you can see this 3 here and this 3 here force a 3 into one of these 2 cells. And I'm just going to make little pencil marks to keep track of that. You may say, well, shouldn't I make more aggressive or intensive pencil marks? In my opinion, you shouldn't need to. On any handcrafted puzzle, it's very rare that you need to go further than this basic pencil mark technique. And indeed, this method, if you become proficient with it, should take you through any level of competitive Sudoku. So you can go to the World Championship, and if you're a master of this method, you can be competitive if your brain is fast enough and you just use this technique. So it has a lot to commend it. Right, fours, 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 fours. So the 4 in this 3x3 block is forced to be here. Ones actually, 1, 1, and this one, meaning in this 3x3 block the 1 is also forced into that position. That allows us to pencil mark some 1s over here. What else can we do with 1? So yeah, we can pencil mark some up there, look, because of the 1 here and the 1 here. We can pencil mark 8s in this top block to these 2 cells. 3s into these cells. And there's no algorithm to solving Sudoku as well. Some people, they think, oh, we can just provide a method, and you just run through the method sort of every time, and it immediately gets you to the answer. Well, that's not how Sudoku solving works. We have to rely on our fluid intelligence a bit as we go through these solves. My fluid intelligence is not taking me very far at the moment. 4s, 5s. 5s are locked into one of those 2 cells in this 3x3 block because of this 5 and this 5. And there's a 5 and a 6 here, and a 5 and a 6 here. So in this 3x3 block, there's a 5-6 pair that we're able to notate like that. So we're looking for, what is it going to be, 2, 3, 4, and 8 into the open positions. So this square can only be 3 or 4 because of the 2 and the 8 here, but I don't want to notate that. That's not strictly in accordance with the notation that I've described. I'm going to try and make use of just what we're doing. Okay, right. And this is why I've just spotted something, so do take a stare at the grid, see if you can spot a way to make progress or to find a nice pair, a nice hidden pair in the grid. This is why I think this method of notation is a great showcase for it. And the number that we need to focus on is this number. This 3 is very important to the solve. Now if we go across the row, you can see it's given us some pencil marks here, but we can actually do something very nice with it. If we look, we can pencil mark 3's up there, but that wasn't what I was looking at. If we look at the effect this 3 has down here, it's really, really important. And you can see that although I couldn't pencil mark it, the 3 is locked in this 3 by 3 block. The 3 is locked into either row 7 or row 8. Because it can't go here, there cannot be a 3 in this 3 by 3 block in row 9. And in this 3 by 3 block, we've already pencil marked 3's into these two squares. So we know in this 3 by 3 block, there is no 3 in row 9. Now, we know that there must be a 3 somewhere in row 9 in this puzzle, and therefore we know it must be in one of these two positions. And look at this. Look how this interacts now in terms of the columns 7, 8 and 9. We've now these 3's here pencil marked, and these 3's here pencil marked. So have a stare at it. Some of you will be very familiar with how this technique works. I know some of you are newer subscribers and may not be. But this sort of pattern, I mean, technically I suppose it is an X-wing, but that's, you know, we don't have to think of it in those terms. We just have to think about the effect of the 3's being locked into either column 7 or column 9 in this 3 by 3 block, and column 7 or column 9 in this 3 by 3 block. So, for example, if this is a 3, we know this will be a 3, and if this is a 3, we know this will be a 3. So we know when we come to this 3 by 3 block at the top that there can't be 3's in any of these 4 positions, because that will be ruled out by the positioning of the 3's down here. And therefore, where can we put a 3 in this top block? Only in those two positions, and it marries precisely with the 8's. So we find this hidden pair now up here. Now hopefully that's going to be useful. I'm just scanning the row to see whether I can see anything. Can't see anything in the row. Let's have a look at the column. So we still need 1, 2, 5 and 7. There's a 7 here and a 7 here, yes. So in this column there's only one position now that a 7 can go, and that's in that cell. And that allows us to pencil mark 7's up there. And it means that in this 3 by 3 block there's now only one place that a 7 can go. That's here, because of this 7 and this 7 obviously. Now, can we go further than that? 7. Trying to see whether I can get another pencil mark out of it. Oh, yes, I can. Of course I can. I wasn't seeing this 7 for some reason. 7 there. That means that this must be a 7. Let's remove the pencil mark 7 that we had earlier. This must be a 7 up here in this 3 by 3 block because of this 7, and this 7 over here. So there's only one place a 7 can go. And that means, in fact, we can also place that one. So that is now good progress. And I hope that everyone appreciated where that progress came from. I'm pencil marking 8's here because of this 8. That means there's an 8 in one of those two positions. So all of this progress with the 7's came out of the trick we did with the 3 here. And it's this sort of thing that in a handcrafted puzzle, this sort of logic will exist. It will have been designed to be found. And you know, you compare it with a machine puzzle, it would have nothing that beautiful. With a machine puzzle, you just have to, you know, sometimes you have to brute force it. Now, what could we do? Why does this matter? And again, I'm coming back to this, not because I'm greatly hopeful that it does matter, but because I'm aware from solving these puzzles over the years, it's the sort of thing that we can make a lot of use of. And indeed that is the case here as well. Now we've seen this trick we're about to do occasionally in the New York Times hard puzzle. It's a big fan of this trick. So let's look at this block, and the fact we've managed to find these threes here, and that was the key to me spotting the next step. Now in the next step, what we need to do is to identify another hidden pair. This time we need to note that in this 3x3 block, the numbers 3 and 4 are appearing already in column 8. Now we need to put a 3 and a 4 somewhere in column 7. So what candidates are available? Which cells could we put a 3 and a 4 in? Well, neither of these two, for the reasons mentioned. Look, we have a 3 and a 4 here, so we can't put a 3 or 4 in this square. Let's keep going down the column. This is okay, this could contain a 3 or a 4. This square here can't contain a 3 and a 4 because there's a 4 here and we've pencil marked 3's into these two squares. So we know the 3 is appearing in one of these two squares, definitely not in this square. So again, we can't put a 3 or a 4 in this square. So now we've managed to limit the 3 and the 4 to just two positions in column 7. I'm going to show you it's not strictly in accordance with my notation, but just to give you an example, it's only these two squares that can contain a 3 and a 4 now. And that must be helpful. Let's check the rest of the column now. We need to place 2, 5, 6 and 9. So 2. Okay, well I can't see how to use it in the column, so we're going to have to think instead about the rows that are affected by this deduction. Because one way of viewing the 3 and the 4 is not just that obviously it's a 3-4 pair, but it's the fact that no other number can now go into this cell, for example, that might matter. So if we look at row 9, we've got 2, 3, 4 and 8 to place. Yes, 2 and an 8 here. So this square can only be a 3 and a 4. We need to place 2, 3, 4 and 8 in the row. And this square here is limited to 3 or 4 because of this 2 and 8 here. So look at that. We needed to find the hidden pair in column 7, and then we married it up with the restrictions in row 9 to find a 3-4 pair there as well. So now we need a 2 and an 8 still, so there's a 2-8 pair there. Still need a 4 in 3 and a 4 into these two positions, and we have a 4 here. So this cannot be a 4, so there's only one place left now for a 4 in this block, and that's there. Now let's be careful about this. We can pencil mark 4's into those two squares, and this square must be a 3. We knew it was either a 3 or a 4. Now we're really starting to motor, because now this 3 and this 3 force this to be a 3. And that means this is a 3. Look, this 3 here is going to allow us to unwind the 3-8 at the top there. So 3, 8. And what else? Well, we can pencil mark, they have a 2 here and 2's here, so we can pencil mark some 2's into those two squares. Oh, actually we can do better than that. There's a 2 up there, I wasn't spotting that. Let's put that 2 in. That locks 2 into one of these two squares. And here's a good trick. Here is a very good trick. I think some people would miss this. If we look at, once I lock these 2's in, I immediately scanned over into this 3x3 block and this 3x3 block to see whether I could lock 2's again into rows 4 and 5 in either of these 3x3 blocks. Because if I can do that, I know it'll match the positions of these 2's. Now, this 2 here is nearly helpful, but this square here can still be a 2. So it's still possible that a 2 would appear in row 6 in this 3 by 3 block. So that's not quite good enough. So the natural place to look now is this 3 by 3 block and this 3, 7. Now if either of these 3 or 7 had been a 2, I would have been able to eliminate a 2 from this square, and I would have known that the 2 would then have appeared, in one of these positions in this 3 by 3 block. It would marry up here and I would be away again. But let's take a look at this a little bit more carefully, because if we study column 4 here, this 2 here is absolutely massive, because it prevents there from being a 2 in this square. Now if the 2 is not in this square, where can it be? Only in those 2 positions. And look at that, we've got this beautiful arrangement again, which I really cannot stress enough how hard it is to spot this sort of pattern if you are fully notating cells, or even if you're notating cells that can only contain 2 numbers. Spotting this sort of pattern is really hard. Using this Snyder notation, it is so much easier. Now look, we can do the trick again now. Let's have a look. We now know the 2 in this 3 by 3 block is locked into rows 4 and 5. The 2 in this 3 by 3 block is locked into row 4 and 5. I need to put a 2 in row 6 in this grid. We now know it must go in one of those 2 positions. And you can see we have a 2 here, look. So in fact, it's forced to just be in that position. And that means this is a 2, because we have a 2, a 2, and a 2 up here. That means that we have a 2 in one of those 2 positions. I'm just going to check row 3 again. So we need 2, 6, and 9. No, I can't see how to do that. I'm just check column 1. I need 6, 8, and 9 there as well. Again, nothing doing. Let's check column 3. I need 5, 6, 8, and 9. Okay, yes, so there's something we can do there, because we have an 8 here, an 8 here, and an 8 here. So there's only one place an 8 can go in column 3. That's there. Oh, and in fact, that's taking up, well, it's doing loads. That's probably the puzzle finished now, because that has 2 effects, placing an 8 here. First, you can immediately place a 5 because of the unwinding the earlier pencil marks. And then that means this square here must be a 5, because we have a 5 here and a 5 here. But also this 8 means this must be an 8. It's the only place an 8 can go in this 3 by 3 block. So all of a sudden we are making massive progress. This must be an 8, this must be a 2. This is an 8, this is a 2. That means this is a 1. It's the only place a 1 can go. 1, 1. We still need to place 6 and 9, I think, in these 2 squares. So we can pencil mark those now. 2, 2. This must be a 2 over here. 1, 6, and 9 across here. We can pencil mark the 1s in. In fact, this square here is the only place this can only be a 1, because we already have a 9 and a 6 in column 8. So that's going to be very helpful. The moment we place the 1, I can place the 1 here and the 4 here from the earlier pencil marks. So I'm left with 5 and 9, I think, to put into the centre. Again, I can unwind that immediately because of the earlier work. 5, 5, 9, 9. This must be a 9. This must be a 2. This must be a 6 now. Yeah, and I think the puzzle's now solved. So this is going to be a 9. And there we go. So a sort of different puzzle today, but I hope, as I say, that it helped you with your solving. If you enjoy the channel, please do subscribe. Please tell your friends about us. I know everyone wants to be the best of their friends at puzzles. If you're anything like me, that's the case anyway, but sometimes it's good to share with friends your puzzle solving, and we're trying to get our subs up at the moment, so if you can help us with that, we'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.